the children with no voice in borrowed rooms, to the magazines that carry their truth. 25 years of the same steady hand, finding the ones who fell through the cracks of the plan. From Mitcham to Croydon, from London to the world, every flaggy planet said, you matter, you're hurt, but there's a man who finds you in the quiet.
Christina, how are you?
I'm good.
No, you're the one today that any sees what the one I'm talking to today, right? You have to listen to the words of Mike's song, you know. There are shorter versions like that for me to use my intro, and they're different flavors, different different genres. Call it that, right? There's a funk one I was trying to put on my video earlier. I didn't quite get around to it, but it's kind of cool. I'll work it out before the next show for sure. Yeah. Anyway, how's life with you today? How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited for this topic, which is a very dear one to me. And it's about formulas, isn't it? It's about alchemy. And so I'm very excited we chose this topic. We briefly touched. Actually, we had a similar event, I think, maybe a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
And now we're just gonna cover a new aspect of it.
Yeah, I think we covered 3 things last time. I think so. This time we've got to know a bit more. Yeah.
Last time we were talking a lot about provoking a reaction.
Yeah.
And now that might provoke some kind of emotion, and it determines whether you go with a brand or another brand. This time we're talking specifically about authority and personal brand and social proof, and what does it mean, especially here on this platform and beyond.
Yeah, it's always an interesting chat. I love this show because I think it's enlightening. That's why. Okay. I find myself on YouTube. Hello, Jackie. I do see you. Chuck, I don't think we've met before. Chuck, welcome. Got superstar Sonia. Sonia does her Thursday at 6, I think, something like that. Yeah, no. So I don't know what I'm trying to figure out. It's 6 minutes long. I think it's 6 minutes long. I think it is. But I do enjoy her show, and it's always entertaining and informative as always. If you're here, my friends, do say hi. I will come around to welcoming you in a few minutes. I'm still doing some of my what you call it? It's like housekeeping. They call it events, right? The basic things you have to do in the background that no one gets to see until you get to see it. So that still has to be done. But of course, we'd love to have you on stage if you want to come and share with us. So you got any questions you want to bring, insights you want to share? Don't be shy. Do come on stage and join us. Anyway, Christina. So is this our first one since our masterclass?
It is, and I enjoyed the experience, and I look forward to doing more.
Yeah, so same here. It's funny how people. I learned so many lessons from the masterclass. I learned many things which will help me going forward. I think possibly will help in today's conversation as well. I think so the one thing I learned. I wish I'd. When you know but you just don't do. You know what to do, but you just don't do it.
Guilty as charged.
Here's what I know, which is one of my big tips for today, my friends. See, for our masterclass, I send loads of DMs. As I always do. I send loads of DMs, right? And inviting people in my connections. in my connections to to the masterclass. It's only in the last couple of hours before the masterclass I realized that I was making a mistake, right? It suddenly dawned on me, the people cold DMs don't work. I know this; it's a fact, right? Whereas warm DMs to people that you know, your friends, will work. So I started messaging my friend, some more of my friends, and just leaving out the other people who I haven't. If I haven't spoken to someone, I'm like, I'm not even gonna invite you. So I just focus on those I've met, those I've spent time with, those that I can actually say are my friends. And the amazing thing, even though many of them said, "Oh, it's too late, it's too late." My camera's being very funny. It's too good. I can't make it today. I think I had 3 people say after those invites went out that they would join the masterclass. I'm like, no, it's gone. It was last week. It was Tuesday. No point saying you're gonna join on Wednesday, right? So I
So
think
will invite us to the next one.
yeah, of course. And I saying that was one big lesson I learned. I guess so another thing I learned from a masterclass is we a good workbook, Christina, is worth its weight in gold. You created an amazing workbook for that masterclass. I think we did. We did very well.
We can do more.
No, but
I love making those.
yeah, I think definitely workbook. Because my thing is to give people something to take away to implement. I don't like people coming to listen to us talk necessarily. I wanted to get to come and listen to us. Actually give them a strategy. That they can actually go away with an action plan. And not everyone likes that way of doing. So some people think the conversation is worth its weight in gold. I think the workbook is worth more. Really, I think the workbook is it is where it's at. If you can actually go through the workbook and complete the workbook in this session, I'm just happy. Maybe because I was a lecturer at one time, so then I'm into teaching on that sort of level. This event like this is for a conversation. That's what we're here for, right? Whereas
Exactly.
if you're paying for a masterclass, I want you to genuinely leave an action plan for what you're gonna do next. And I think we did that brilliantly because of the workbook that you created. That's me waffling away, right?
I just was having a LinkedIn DM conversation this weekend, and the topic was free webinar and paid masterclass, right? And the thing is, I've gone to thousands of free webinars. I still mark them on my calendar, and sometimes I forget about them, because I didn't make the type of commitment, so I end up not going, right? And then the paid one, which doesn't have to be hundreds of dollars, can be a very low entry fee, but there is a different level of commitment also in the way you show up. That what it says in the can, that you're supposed to walk away with these specific results, and you're spending that time doing the work. So for me too, at this point, I'm probably gonna avoid all the free webinars that I get my 2-hour free masterclass, because I've been to a lot of them, and I know now that half of them are an intro to something else, right?
Yes.
And so sometimes it's a lot of teasing just to say, here is the real thing. So I might as well be straightforward and tell people that this is a workshop, and that's what's going to happen here, and that's the value. And that's all part of today's conversation. We're talking about authority, personal branding, social proof, right? Those are all parts of it. Pretty sure that those of you that are listening today, if you want to know about authority, personal branding, social proof, you really want to know, how am I going to make money here? How am I going to stand out? How is my business going to be believable, viable? And it comes with time. It's not incident that We promoted the masterclass fairly quickly. Uh, with probably a lot of DMs, but we didn't go and filter who we were going to send the DMs to, which we should have done.
Yeah, yeah.
But in the end, those people that showed up for us, they knew our personal brand really well.
Mm,
They believed in our social proof, and for them was a no-brainer. They knew they were going to get some value, and they were there for the value, for the workbook, and for those things that we provided in those 3.5 hours.
mm,
So that's what was it. They were not questioning, they were not wondering what they were gonna get out of it and if it was gonna be worth it or not. They knew, and that comes with time. So if you're starting out and you're thinking authority and social proof, it comes with you taking those first steps, showing your thinking. Don't post to post and to be trendy and to post something funny. Show people your thinking. It doesn't matter if two or three people are liking it and not all the hundreds of engagement pods clicks are liking just for the sake of popularity. We're not in high school here, so it really does not matter. What it matters is that your content meets the one person that understands your thinking today. It could be just one, but if they like what you wrote, if they understood the way you think, they will keep following you, check out on your content, subscribe to your newsletter. If people, there is a few trends going on LinkedIn as of probably the last I want to say 9 months. Infinite posts that say, don't post every day, do this instead, uh, get more engagement and views with posting less. The truth is that anybody that tells you, oh, just post 2 times a day when you're starting out, it's a waste of your time and it messes up with the algorithm if you post every day. Every time everybody tells you that, they're not telling you the whole truth, because the reason why you get to where you are, the reason why you get a certain amount of people engaging with you, following you, or LinkedIn even shows your content to begin with, it is because you're showing up. And if you feel and you have something to say and you want to show up daily, do that, because that's how you leave a footprint. We're on LinkedIn here, but you have to go and think at a certain point, beyond LinkedIn. If you look up your name, if you put out a fair amount of content in the last 6 months and you look up your name, you'll probably, the first thing you'll find is your LinkedIn posts, or if you're an article or a newsletter, you'll find your LinkedIn profile, and it's not an accident that you're finding those things. So look beyond the likes and the engagement, because you're actually building content that is being discovered outside of LinkedIn, especially if you do long format content like newsletters. So keep that in mind, if you're trying to build social proof, if you're trying to build authority. The other thing you have, when we say showing up, we mean showing up just like this. Join a few live events, have a recording of you floating around. That's all right. Doesn't have to be perfect. This one is not perfect today, I guarantee you. But it will be float around, and somebody will get something out of this, and I'll probably hear back from them. So that's why we do all this. And we call today's event, we use the word alchemy because it is a recipe and it's not a perfect recipe, right? It cannot just be one thing. It's a combination of actions that you take, and too much of one is gonna, kind of obliterate the other one. So you just have to know when it's the right time for your brand. If you're starting out and you only can express yourself in short posts that deliver an opinion about a particular subject, and that's all you can do. That's okay. But then at a certain point, you have to look at all this content that you have produced, maybe over a period of a couple of months, and elaborate on it, expand on it, maybe create an article, maybe pick one, join with a friend and make a live event and make it a whole discussion out of it. The thing is, you have to know your core topics, your pillar topics, and you might sound like a broken record, but you have to cover them over and over and over and over. That's what creates authority, and that's what creates a personal brand. And like every brand, when you think of brand, you think, okay, slogan, right? Mission statement, logo. Yeah, those things are there. Those things are extremely valid. But it is, what is the first thing that people see when they land on your LinkedIn profile? Is your headline clear? Does it reflect the same things that you're talking about, engaging with, and posting about? All those things matter. So we need to have continuity. We need to have consistency, relevancy. Those are all the things that build that social proof over time. And we also have to deal with the not technical part, but the algorithm part. The thing is, people tell you, I have cracked the algorithm. I know exactly how to get you visible on LinkedIn. That's actually not true, because nobody knows how the algorithm works. What you can count on, and actually LinkedIn has published a couple of things about that, is that if you say you are somebody that deals with, accountancy and financial prosperity, and your skills on your profile are the ones that reflect the experience of a financial advisor, for example, or somebody that deals with revenue at a higher level, then you're expected to post about those topics. If you have that on your profile, and then you're posting about something completely different, or random things that don't match the landing page that you created as your profile, your visibility will be less and less. But when I say less and less, I'm not necessarily talking about how many impressions you got, or how many people saw the particular post that was out there. It is it actually being shown to the right people? Or is your post another one of those random things that lands on somebody's feed, and they're wondering, why am I getting this, right? They're probably getting this because they followed you, they saw your headline, they saw your profile, so they decided to see what you're going to be talking about next, and all of a sudden they get something that is completely inconsistency. That over time will affect how your content gets pushed, and also will affect the impression that you make on people. Because if somebody decides to follow Henny today because he deals with marketing, and he deals with authority, publishing, and books, and he's talking about completely different topics, and there is nothing in his profile that says, okay, that's what I do, that's what I'm publishing, that's the books that I'm promoting, then it's probably a missed opportunity there. Annie, do you want to add anything?
Add many things, Christina. Many
Add,
things.
add. Don't worry.
Many things. I'll come to that in a second. Let's welcome some of our friends. Dr. Lisa's here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I see you. I don't know who LinkedIn user is. I don't know yet. I post daily and engage on many posts. Please put your name in the comments so I can welcome you properly. So just say hi, Lisa, so she knows Lisa for sure. Your friend Americo is here. I know you're doing a lot of work with him. Do you want to mention
Yes,
what
I
you
love
what you did with
America.
him? Feel free.
Oh, tomorrow actually we're having a master class. So it's going to be a master class for you to. It's going to be talking about a lot about personal branding and mindset, but the walk away is the ability of building a client pipeline. So I'm very excited about this. And if America wants to say hello
It's not free,
live,
is it?
please
It's not
join.
free. No, it is paid, right? People
Yes,
need
yes,
tickets. Okay, so
yes. The tickets are $50. We purposely kept it low entry because we want to give the people an opportunity to experience both our coaching, and it's going to be a 2-hour masterclass.
awesome, awesome. No, it's always good to learn, right? And I said masterclasses are a level up from these free events, like you were saying earlier. So, Liana, welcome. Jameson, I don't know if that's you, that's on the LinkedIn user, but welcome as well. I see Kenny's just joined us. How you doing, Kenny? I invite all 1 million of my friends here today. Hey, Kenny, your friends aren't responding, but you're here. That's the important thing, right? I think there's something there, Kenny. It's the ones that are there that you can count on, right? Yolanda, welcome. There's many more people here. Can I try? So I think Philip, my good friend Philip, glad you're here as well. Thank you for joining us. Linda, of course, down to Linda. Our good friend Linda's here. Linda's we can rely on Linda. I like that. That gives me joy. Right now, she's always there to support and always there to learn and always there to implement. That's more the important thing, right? So Leanne, I do see you. So we haven't seen Sharon Rose for a while. Glad you're here. To the legends I mentioned, Sonia's 6 at 6. Yeah, 6 at 6. There's something to those sixes, right? And I think it's at 6 p.m. sometime, probably Eastern time, I think. Could be Central for 9 Yeah, nice. EST, so 6 p.m. EST. And, is it for 6 minutes? I don't. It might just be for 6 minutes. So if you blink, you might miss it, right? So do connect with her and do go along, of course. We have Jackie and her Just Jack's show that just keeps going from strength to strength. How you doing, Jackie? Great to see you as always. And who else? We have Chuck here as well. So welcome all of you. Look, let me come back to your points, Christina. So I started off today's show by saying, the importance of, it's not just posting, it's not just getting content out there. William, I see you. Sorry, I miss you out, mate. William, I don't know why. We connected William as well. So William, he's got a couple of campaigns going. He's got a GoFundMe page, and so do connect with him and support his GoFundMe. I have, and I shared the link many times. If you can't contribute, you can share the link with your network, right? I say one of my friends donated today, and I'm like, every penny counts, so it's all good, right? So anything you can contribute, it definitely helps. Dr. Ivy, Dr. Fortune, how are you doing? We'll get to meet. No, we get to meet. We're friends already. We get to meet in my hometown of Cornwall in the summer. Dr. Fortune is coming to Cornwall. Good luck with
Oh,
that.
I want to be there. That's so nice. I love Cornwall.
We're going through the activities that there are for people to do. I've never had to look because I'm not a tourist. I live there, so I'm quite ignorant when I live in places. In London, I didn't go to any tourist things. I just refused because I'm a Londoner, so why do I need to go? It's for tourists. So I've done the same in Cornwall. I don't go anywhere. My wife goes to the attractions, actually with the kids and grandkids and all that. I don't. Thanks to Dr. Ivy, I'm going to be forced to go along to things like the Eden Project. Let's go and see what's there, right? Anyway, let's come back to our conversation, Christina. See, I think the first thing that as I mentioned, is that it matters who you know. And I think for the alchemy, it seems like magic that some people have a following, a community, people who engage, people who buy. It's not magic. It is a process. There's simple steps like we put down today. It's about building authority. It's about, but I think, it's about having social proof. Yes. As having a system to convert, to attract and convert people. I agree with all of that. But I think, marketing is really today in an age of is who you know. It's who you know. A lot of people, they want to do it, they want to do it easy and cheap. And when I say cheap, I mean cheap in numbers. They want to just I'll blast out messages. I'll post. They will come. It's not going to work. You have to talk to people. You have to actually become known. It's,
It's both. It's a combination of everything.
it is exactly that. I agree. It's not just one thing. You have to do all of it. You have to do numbers, but you have to if you get to know people more, the more people you get to know, the more chance you have of getting people to know you. And they're the ones who are going to ultimately support you, do business with you, ask about your services. See, I've got someone who is something. I've got two people who are on my case these days. I meet with everyone. So one of them I met with, I told you, I'm sure I mentioned that before. Now she says, I can design a game for you. I'm like, oh, okay, it sounds like a board game. Like my friends can play. You and I talk, when I said masterclass, we talked about merchandise. I said, a Global.Media game could be something that people can buy. Okay, I get that. I'm big into in-person events, trade shows, conferences, those sort of things, right? Again, that sort of place, that's a good place where you can bring your board game out to attract people to your stand or to are you there? And then you can keep them entertained. And then so I know what the board game can do. And then this person is like, are you ready to buy? I'm like, no. Because why? Why have you gone cold? I'm like, I haven't gone cold. I don't know you. I met you once and I haven't seen you anywhere since. You don't support anything I do. You don't support anything my friends do. I don't know who you are. I don't know if I can trust you or not. And she's like, how can you say that? I'm like, I just did. We have to build a relationship, Christine. And she doesn't get it. There's another one who sent me a website audit. I'm like, thanks. Who are you? Well, I looked at your website. I'm saying, and if I don't know who you are, I'm not going to do business with you. I don't care what you say, frankly, right? I'm not being rude. She's like, well, why are you being? Why are you being? I'm like, I'm not being like anything. I'm just saying to you, if I'm going to get my website done, it will be done by someone I know, like, and trust. I keep saying the same words to everyone, Christina. They just don't get it. They think it's just meet me. Just meet me, say hi, then I'll send get your bank card out. That's not how it works. Whoever you are, anything you do, if you're going to post and you want engagement, make some friends. That way, at least you know who the right people are to be posting towards, right? Who are you trying to get engagement from? As you said earlier, LinkedIn is now a lot more strict with this Bruce 360 algorithm. That basically means if people don't engage with your posts, they're not going to see your post. End of. You have to get to know people. There's something you said about personal branding, which I think I will probably end here before I give it back to you, right? We need to be personal in personal branding. The whole point of personal branding is that it's personal. It's a way to show that you're a real person who does what humans do. What do humans do? Humans, they make friends, they build relationships, they care about other people. That's what humans do. That's a personal side. If you think you're going to build a business by being a machine, it's not going to work. The days of people that say, when we start a business, Christina, people used to say, there's my link, go to my website. Try that these days. It's not going to work. People just ignore you, right? You have to get personal, get to know people, get to like people, get to care about people. And they'll care about you in return. That's my personal take. I think if you genuinely just get to be yourself, everything else will flow. But you have to be yourself in many places to many people, all at the same time. As you say, Christina, right?
You go crazy like trying to be all that. So here is what I would say. This series is called Escaping the 9 to 5, right?
Mm.
So that means you're probably working full time at a job, or you just left it and you're maybe wanting to pursue a career or an encore career, get together all your expertise and start a business. Or perhaps it's nothing to do with your traditional career. You had a passion and a hobby that has been sitting on a shelf for a while, and you want to see where it can go. You're a creative person. Whatever it is, you have to let it out there. And, it's a little bit like lowering your expectations at the beginning, and doing some testing. You have to be clear. I'm here to do this. Starting by saying, I'm working on something new. This is what I'm working on. This is what I'm building. Really just announce it. Say, I'm working on this. I'm building this, and you can expect to see this type of content from me. And start by making a list of, like, these are my topics, and consistently post. If you're creative and you feel like posting every day, it's your beginning. It's not gonna hurt you to post every day, right? Especially when you're establishing your presence. When you're establishing your presence, you're not just establishing your presence on LinkedIn. You're creating videos, contents, posting images, carousels, writing an article, a newsletter, all things that are going to be discoverable out there. So don't put it there and sit there and see who's liking it, because you'll go crazy. And chances are, even those of us that have thousands of followers, sometimes not many people like it. It doesn't mean because it's bad. It just doesn't, got that reach in the particular moment. The good news is that LinkedIn recycle content now. So if it doesn't fly, immediately, it's not necessarily dead. And if you think there was some value to it, you can always go back to it, comment, repost it, redo a new version of it. Just don't give up. Just get your stuff out there, because when you get your stuff out there, it also will give you clarity on what your stuff is, what it is that you're actually building. So it starts with being a real human being, expressing yourself and say, I'm working on this, I'm building this because it has been my passion. I have many years of experience. It was successful when I tested so many years ago. I want your opinion, right? Ask people questions, and not only say it in writing, but also go to events. If somebody actually likes your post, make sure that if you're not connected, go ahead and connect. You say, I want to connect because you engage with my post, and I saw your profile and I want to get to know you. So these are all the things. Oh, hold on. I think I have a little problem on my laptop. Okay. These are all the things that, are going to make a difference, are actually going to leave a trace. So there is nothing wrong with expressing yourself, and just getting your content be there, being discoverable. It's very important, because when people look for something and research these days, they don't necessarily use Google anymore. They actually use their AI and ask, for a solution to a particular problem they're having. And if you put enough out there, your answers will have left a trace. I did these experiments with a couple of clients of mine after months and months of posting, just asking, what is X name known for, you know, and your LinkedIn, your post, your the topics that you're discovering. If you put enough written content out there, it actually comes up. So those are all things that we have to keep in mind.
I think there is a lot more personality that we can do. So that's my personal thoughts. Again, I wonder what you think. I'll come back to that in a second. Bill, someone mentioned, you know, Bill's events this morning. Do you know I was at Sharon Rose? I was there on the replay. I missed it by a bit. I think Kenny sent me the link. Kenny or Mero. It was Kenny. And so I went along and I listened. It was Bill in his coat doing his thing, right? And I talking honestly, talking, like a human being. I think there's a lot of, it's almost like we forget that we are the personal brand. That's personal brand is something. It's your way of doing things, right? So the issue I see, Christina, is that many people don't know who we are, who you are. And we make this mistake of trying to keep up an image when we can just be ourselves. I see Jameson, I can see that you are the LinkedIn user, so it's all good. What else? There's a few more comments. Saying, what do you say? So, Bill, I thought maybe you will notice that you weren't there. No, I'm sure you were there, Leanne. I'm sure you were. So Sonia says to keep people engaged, it requires showing up consistently and authentically. Yes, and I agree. And people connect with people. Again, I saw a post the other day. One of my friends posted something about these are the 9 reasons people post. All very sensible, all very smart. They post for visibility. They post for, advertising their service and so on and so forth, right? Look, I post for a laugh. I'm disrespectful to the algorithms. I just don't. I'm not gonna play the game. I refuse. Right. So, I will post. So my last post was my last real post, apart from my events. So to your point, Christina, be consistent in what you do. Post about what you do. Right. I do events. If you see every day, there's a post about an event. There's always a post about it. Next event, there's always 2 posts I do for every event, right? So some people do it. I'm sure they think it's always posting events. Yeah, it's what I do for a living. Get used to it, right? Get used to it. There will come a time when all I do is post about the books I'm publishing. I'm saying it's a moment in time, but that's what I do. So for Easter, I did a silly post. It was funny. I found it funny, so I posted it. No problem. Engagement. I got more engagement than I wanted. Because people want to have a laugh with you more than they want to read serious stuff always. I'm saying vary your content. Show them more who you are. In the early days of our existence, Christina, they used to say, show them the backstage stuff, right? The fly on the wall in your company. Except we're all working from home these days, so we don't have that anymore, right? We don't have the team to show the coffee machine moments or the office doing the office thing. But what do you like? What inspires you? So post many things, right? Be you. Bill's show, William Rochelle show is you be you. I say I dare you to be you. Just be you. Post about you. People will, your friends will engage, and it might give people that extra nudge to think, I know you, I like you, maybe I can trust you. So don't just make all your posts boring. I've been there. It's boring, right? It's boring for me. It's boring for you looking at it. So and there's, I think maybe it's the point that there's different reasons for posts: education, entertainment, advertising. I'm saying there's a mix of.
You have
of
to be
reading.
very clear about what it is that you're trying to achieve.
Mm,
If you, I mean, that's the thing. There is different phases, right? You're building a personal brand, you're building social proof, authority, you're getting to meet people, and your expectations at that stage are not like I have to convert. They're not that high. So that's okay because that's a good opportunity for genuine networking. But you also have to say what your intent is, what it is that you're working on, what it is that you're building, because that's how you find your first supporters, people that will be part of your mastermind for years to come. So that's important.
mm,
But then there comes another stage where you have to make no apologies about what it is that you're doing. If you have an offer to sell, a masterclass to sell, a product to sell, post about it. You have to
yes.
send the messages about it. And one thing that I noticed, probably the last, since the last time when we did our masterclass, I was being deliberately more active, and I was making myself purposely connect with new people because I had noticed that I gotten so busy with clients, I had not made many new connections, right? So although I wanted to deliver my message and going back and sending messages to the people that I never talked to that are connected to me, those opportunities were kind of they were gone because now the connection was old, and now you have to remind them and say, "Hey, I'm being deliberate about meeting more people in my network." In other words, we never met. We connected a year ago. That's how bad we both been, right? So it's kind of awkward sending that kind of message. Now, I deliberately, when somebody connects with me or I connect with people, I say, okay, I'm growing my following this week. That's my goal, right? But I don't let it go where somebody connects with me and I never send them a message anymore.
Mm,
I don't do that anymore. So the moment that somebody is connected with me, I'm just gonna be clear. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is why I connected, and this is what I would like, from our connection, from our relationship. Engage with me. Come to the events where I go.
yeah.
I'll engage with you. So I really try with the fresh connections. And the thing is, not all of them will respond.
Mm,
So tracking those people that respond, it's important because you can cultivate those. Those that ignore your message, you know that unfortunately they're a number.
Ignore,
And
ignore them. Ignore them too, Christina. That's why I say,
mhm.
right?
Yeah, unfortunately
Really.
they're a number, probably a number that should never be in your network because
Yes.
it's kind of an illusion. So
Yes.
sometimes I actually find myself cleaning house.
Mm, yeah. That means deleting connections that don't serve you and that you don't serve either. It was, if you're not helping me and I'm not helping you, why are we connected? Really, I'm
I mean,
saying
if it's
that's
hard, it's hard to track after a while, right? You got 10,000 connections, it's hard to track after a while. But
hmm,
at least you can get them, being deliberate about today I'm connected with 30 new people, right? Or this week I connected with 30 new people.
hmm,
Why? It's just 30 in a week. Why? Let's see if any of them want to do something, right?
yes,
And let's see if we can move to a different, doesn't mean let's see if they're going to buy my product.
yeah,
Doesn't mean that because maybe out of those 30, somebody will work with you after a period of time, after you message a few times, they read your newsletter, they come to your event, you go to theirs, right? A couple of months of building trust can convert. But if you don't do this on a daily basis, it won't.
yeah. No, again, I agree with you. I think for me, I think it's a conversation I want. Isn't it? I want to know what you do, and I want you to know what I do. And that's just having a conversation. Whatever comes next, if it does, it's a good thing. I'll take it. I'm saying if nothing comes of it, At least you and I can say we are friends more than, we're connections doesn't really help me. I know because if I don't know when to call you, you don't know when to call me. Are we really friends? Are we really connected? Real friends, no, they know what each other do, and they introduce them to each other, to the right people. And I said we must talk. If someone says that they don't want to talk to me, you know what I do, Christina? I delete our connection instantly. It's gone. And if someone complains that, oh, you keep sending me invites, I'm like, yeah, I do events. If they take offense, I'm like, why are we connected? Goodbye. Some I get quite harsh with. They want to have an argument. I'll have an argument with them because I can. Because they think they're no better
Mm-hmm.
than we. They think that they. I don't know. They think that they're better than us or what. They think they are somehow more important than us. I'm just like, no. You are. Whether you like whoever you are. I've got my network on LinkedIn. You've got yours. I don't need you. You don't need me. Let's connect with each other and leave it at that. If they carry on being rude, then I will go nuclear as well. It's rare I have to go nuclear, but when I have to, I really do. I'm saying, don't let people mug you off on LinkedIn. They're no more person than you. So Bill says, my personal brand is authenticity. I'm about to tell people that my authenticity does not align with their brand. So how do you navigate that? Like I just said, Bill. You know, I'm not gonna write someone off because I can't help them today and they can't help me today. I'm all right to be your friend because we're humans, right? But if that person really has absolutely no interest in my realness, in my, in who I am, we're going nowhere, Bill. But you know this, my friend. I'm sure you know this very well, right? You know, friendships, relationships are based on people knowing who you are and being happy to still be your friend because of who you are. The truth is, on social media, we hide who we are. And we think that we have a foundation to build relationships. We don't. We have to be, say, look, I show up as me. If I'm in a good mood, you're going to see. If I'm not in a good mood, you probably won't see it. But I'm saying, but I bet I'm in a good mood at best of times, right? And some people don't like me for me, right? They just don't. And I'm just like, goodbye. I try not to be the one that judges people based on their real selves. I like most people. There are some I've learned not to like because you know we don't align, Bill, and that's just it. End of. Goodbye. Off you go, right?
I see this very, very often, because I help a lot of people that are starting out, that are putting their business together, and they're trying to let people know they're in business, this is what they do, and that's how to reach them, right? And one thing that I noticed, and I also lived it personally when I first started out, is that people come out of having to have, they're already branded by who they
Mm,
were, meaning they had a job title and they worked for this particular company with this particular mission. And now they're starting something on their own, and perhaps they still work for that company, and they're like, ooh, but how do I leave my job title there and also build my personal brand? Well, you can't. Your LinkedIn profile belongs to you. You saying my opinions are my own and they don't reflect the one of my employer. I mean, it's just because now your employer told you cannot be on
mm,
LinkedIn because your LinkedIn is to advertise me. But that's not okay. Actually, when I first started being super active on LinkedIn, my boss asked me, "Hey, just in case my CEO asks, I see that you're very active on LinkedIn. You're not doing this in the name of our company, right?" I was like, "Hell no!" It's like I'm doing this to leave this company. So
You
I
can tell
really
them like
felt,
Christina.
I mean, I had a good relationship with my boss, but I told him, no, I'm building my thing. This is my
Mm,
personal
mm,
brand. This is my, it's all my ideas that you don't want to hear because we don't have the budget. That's where they are. They're here. Okay. Uh, so, so that those were the, those moments that, uh, I had to leave, and immediately, the first thing I did was like I took my job title out of
mm,
there. Sure, it was in my list of jobs. I was still employed there, but that was no longer my
mm.
headline.
Yeah.
And same with people, they feel like conflicted.
Mm,
Do I leave my headline because my headline sounds important? I'm a manager, I'm a VP of this or a junior director. Yeah, take it out because it doesn't mean anything for what you want to be doing. And all those people that are following you because you have some, if they think you have some kind of clout and perhaps you can get them a job, they're not going to be your clients.
mm.
So you have to change your trajectory all the time. And then
Yeah.
perhaps they're concealing something about their personal lives,
Yes.
right? Who they're married to, what they believe in, their belief, and they try to create this persona that is really not
Mm,
them. It doesn't serve you. Those that want to work with you because you have a wife and you're a woman, so be it, right? If that's the reason why they don't want to work with you, they don't want to work with you. That's
yeah.
fine. Uh, but you also don't want to be in those kind of online relationships where you're working with somebody and the whole time you're pretending of being somebody
Mm,
else. If they believe in your in your authority, in your personal brand, in what you do and you do well, just like at work, those things should not
yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
So quit, stuffing yourself in with this tie and this virtual suit that doesn't exist because
Mm,
uh, then it defeats the purpose of the reason. It defeats the purpose of the very reason why you're starting something of your
mm.
own.
Yeah, yeah. Again, I think, look, social media has people show up as their best selves. They're not, we're not always like that. I say, no, Bill's, no, I say, Bill, I take your question deeply. When someone says that any, your who you are does not align with my brand, that is just rude. I just can't help but think that is just total ridiculous rudeness. What does that mean? Bill, I will be, look, I can understand where you're coming from. That, if someone says that to me, our friendship just ended. So there is no friendship, as you're saying, Christina. There's no friendship.
Mhm.
You can't take me for who I am. Then how can I possibly even begin to think we're friends? Sadly, this happens.
But also, you really don't want that. I mean, honestly, there is no money
No,
branded like with that you want.
truly.
It's just knowing that that's how somebody feels, and you having to win them over to match
Listen.
who they
Hmm.
are to get their business. It just feels heavy.
Yes. Again, the word I think to get the friendship is what I said. I know Bill is not necessarily trying to sell just to people. Maybe yes, they can help him with his job search. Maybe they can help him with the things his projects that he's up to. Maybe some of his funds, his funds that he's going for. Someone said that, but I think such was. I mean, I'm looking at the words very carefully, Bill. If someone said that, they'll never do business with you. They'll never support you. They'll never be your friend. They'll never be there for you, no matter what you do. So I would run a mile and just say, you know what, Brian. Cyrus, I see you. Uh, how you doing? You're on mute. You're muted. Yeah.
I'm doing well, thank you so much. How are you guys? It's exciting to see you here.
All right. Nice. It's been a long time since I saw you. It feels like a long time. I don't know why. The year's going very
Uh,
quickly. Right?
we've all been busy, and hi Christina as well. Your show is always a lovely one. Um, so I just want to say, when you said some people say they're not aligned with your goals or aligned with your um, values or whatever they
Mm,
say, right?
mm,
So I think you should. change tact and change your tactic and send them and save a huge amount of time. If so, basically, they are the honest ones. They are telling you, right? I don't want to work with you. Okay, I love such people. I absolutely adore them. They are telling me, they're saving me. So everything we're doing, right, throughout the day is to save our meat, money, energy, attention, time, meat, right? So if they are saving your meat, why not? They're saving your bacon, right? So let them be honest, okay? And in return, just tell them what is it that it's not aligned with, and then you can solve that problem. Maybe that's a you problem that you can solve, okay? If it's not, let them go, because at the end of the day, what's the point of spending your time with them? Would you rather know that person's not going to be beneficial to you, you're not going to be beneficial to them in 4 months time or in 4 minutes, right? So that is a that is a good thing. Okay, it's not a bad thing if they tell you they can't work with you. Okay, and I'd like to invite everyone to think about the reason behind marketing. What's the main reason behind marketing? Many people might turn around and say, "Oh, marketing is for sale, for sales." No, the job of sales is sales. Job marketing is not sales. Marketing's main function is to help you get rid of the customers you don't want, right? So that is what. Because with 80 brands, in excess
we
of
lost you
80.
for a second. We lost I don't
Yeah,
know,
I'm
your
sorry.
connection.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it perhaps was the connection. So I've learned this through dealing with like various brands that I've created and I'm working with on a daily basis.
No, Cyrus's connection is very unstable. You know, you need to, Cyrus, we need you to move
Can you
somewhere
hear me
where
now?
you got better connection.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go for it.
It comes and goes. Maybe we'll get back to Cyrus.
For sure. Look,
Okay.
Cyrus, like, when you come back in, please carry on. No. You're still a long way from having a stable connection. Yeah. Look, let's go on to Bill's point. He says, so my creativity comes in bursts. So there may be a week where I don't do where I don't do, you know, anything really. No, but there may be a week where I post multiple times. And there may be a week where I post once, but that's because something has caught my attention from the writing, literally from the writing of others, I think. Post once, that's because something has caught my attention from the writing. The subject matter has me so engaged that it just keeps blowing up.
Can you hear me now? Sorry.
Yes, that is so much better, my friend. So much better.
Okay. Sorry about the quality earlier. It was out of my control. So, regarding the things I shared with you guys, some of you might agree, some of you might disagree with. But that is the point is not to agree or disagree on every point with me, with your clients, with your colleagues. The point is to find a common ground. Common ground is what nurtures that the progress that you want to make, and everyone wants to make progress. And there's nobody who wakes up in the morning, oh, I would like to stay where I am. I don't want to make progress. I mean, some people do it for tax reasons sometimes. Near in the months leading to what the renewal of the tax year. Yeah, sometimes people do that. So, um, uh, regarding um, marketing, I'm gonna finish on this. Um, there is one thing you can do um, to to turbocharge your marketing, and that is finding out um, a clear picture of your ideal customer. When that clear picture is painted in your head, your sales becomes better, your branding improves, everything becomes better because you know the age range that you're dealing with, you know your audience better, you know who you're talking to. And I know really successful marketers who have a model in their offices, um, and they name that model. It's like a mannequin, right? They have an age for it, they have a name for it, they know the demographic. So once you know that, the type of language you use improves, and it helps your branding and sales. So to get the branding and sales right, you need to get the marketing right. And marketing is nothing other than the way you talk to people and the demographics that you're talking to. So if you don't know them, you can't cater for them. Thank you.
I think that I agree with. That is the essence of marketing. You have to know. You have to be talking to the right people. Because when you know them, everything we say that was said today, only works if you know your ideal clients. You hear us marketers garble on about. You have to have a buyer persona. You have to know who they are. You have to know where they shop, what they look like, what they sound like, what they're interested in. That's the only way that you can create content that's going to appeal to them, that's going to meet their needs. That's the only way you're going to create a brand, a personal brand, which gives them the relationship that they want from you. So you have to know who you're talking. A lot of people, they want to talk to everyone, and that's we know, my friends. When you talk to everyone, you talk to no. That's the truth, right? I think that's so important. I think if you want to comment on that, Christina, please feel free. Then we'll go on to Bill's point.
Well, that's some of the things we were just discussing. When we talk about this ideal client persona, sometimes when you start out, you might not know, or you might have an idea. I want to start this type of business that sells this type of service or thing, and I think this kind of person would buy it, right? And that's how you start. But then you find out along the way that maybe that's not the kind of person that is coming to you. And that happened to me. So I realized that the people that were coming to me were differently. And I didn't think, oh, I got my marketing wrong. I thought, oh, wait a second, let's learn from this. Because I actually had good experience working with people that I didn't expect to come to me. And so one of the best things that you can do when you're starting out is tell people what you're doing, tell people what you can solve, the solutions, keep posting, to showcase your expertise about those topics, especially at the beginning, and then see who comes to you. And when you work with somebody, really ask them, why did you pick me? What was it about me? What's the best thing that you got out of this training, out of this us working together? And that's how I actually began to understand that what I was doing, I thought that I was consulting and helping people putting businesses together from a technical point of view. But then parts of me were transpiring that actually people enjoyed more. And so I realized that I was in between a business strategist and a coach. A coach also means supporting, uplifting, working with how much you believe in the product that you're creating. I didn't know that when I started out. I knew that I had lots of fun building my side hustles and my business, and I wanted to help people doing the same. But the reason why I wanted to help people doing the same is actually what introduced me to the right people, because I actually gave it them. And that was the thing that people enjoyed more than my 20 years experience in e-commerce and me knowing the technical part of
Mm.
it. They actually enjoyed more them understanding why they chose that path,
Mm.
and also me understanding why I chose my own path elevated my brand.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's a fact that what we say we do is rarely what we do. It brings us back to Cyrus's point. You have to, if you know your customers enough, then you quickly discover the value that you give them. And then so when we understand what it is we actually do, who for, and how, that's when we can start communicating that in our content, in our posts. When we show up on live events, say when we show up in events, we'll stop. We have to speak the language and talk about the things that matter to our target audience. Yeah. Look, I think Bill asked a question about not being, not posting every day. Basically, that's what. Let's put it that way, Bill. Bill posts. He posts when he is feeling creative. Sometimes it can be once a week. Sometimes it can be never. Sometimes it can be more than once a week. Is that a good strategy to go?
Well, yeah, I mean, yes and no, meaning depends on what the gap is,
Hmm.
right? Because unfortunately we are slaves of LinkedIn and the algorithm. So if we're trying to build continuity and continuous visibility, we have to do certain things. So that happens to me. There are times like this weekend I felt very productive. I knew that not all my posts were gonna land, but I didn't care. I felt like putting it out there. And I also had extra things, right? But I had, I think it was a couple of months back, I was actually sick, and that's when I applied my own advice that I usually give people. The moment you are creative, make it a creative day. Just create posts, create content, and leave it there so that you can trickle it down on those days that you're not so creative.
Hmm.
And it also make there are some things that something that gets your attention, keeps you writing. Well, that's good, right? Because you also keep engaging with that thing. But if you notice that that's something that is creating a particular energetic burst in you, maybe make it into 2 weeks, 3 weeks worth of
Hmm.
content. That's usually what I do. The same content broke down, different aspects of it. Because if you do one long article and one long post, it feels really good to you, but it might not really do a lot for
Hmm.
you. So if you take that and you break it down now, you're actually gonna get more eyeballs on it. And then if you have the really long format version of it, write an article and in your post point to that article,
Hmm.
right? Or if you have feel comfortable with doing a newsletter, same thing. They actually get slightly more visibility, those articles and newsletters.
No, for sure. I say, I laugh because you remind me of the TLDR post. Too long, don't read any, move on. And I do that quite a lot. My attention span is very short.
And some people love it, right? And the reason why I do it is because I don't expect everybody to read all of my
Mm.
newsletter. I usually keep them under 6 minutes. But I know that they will get picked up.
Mm. Yeah,
So they will, that's the thing. That's what they do. They're creating social proof outside of the platform.
for sure, for sure. Look, there's no right or wrong answer to how often should you post, Bill. I think, the way you describe it, Christina, I think it's about creating variety. So don't so like I said, posts have different tones, different reasons. So even though it might be the same theme, you can whether you go with the quotes, the motivational quotes version of the same content, or whether you go with the what's in my newsletter version, or whether you go with even a humor version, a funny a different take, a different slant that might make someone smile or laugh, right?
It's
Or
also the role.
right, grab their attention, right? There's different ways you can use the same content. You need to know what your audience are looking for, what's going to engage them. Again, I can imagine, Bill. Which everything you say a bit further on. Let me get to those. Philip, I'm with you. Take the steps to push forward. Push forward in earnest, my friends. Don't rely on posts. Posts aren't going to do it all for you. Posts are not going to do the heavy lifting. It's just one way of communicating on social media. There's many. Christina has mentioned newsletters. There's many other ways. Events. Of course, I'm going to preach about events because I think when people see you, hear you, they suddenly get you in a way that how many posts will it take for someone to not never have met you before and truly know who you are? How many posts would that take? It could take a lifetime. God Almighty! I posted for years. No one gave a toss at all. As soon as LinkedIn audio came in, suddenly people were like, "Oh, Annie, you're human." I'm like, "Yeah, obviously." And then here I am. Then they want to turn to video. Now they can see me as well. It's like, yay! People don't forget people they see and hear. So when you come to our shows and you comment, I give you more than a thank you, because you didn't everyone a favor. You're now on record for being here. Say everyone who's commented for the people they can see your name. It lives on a page forever. It lives on a video forever, right? On different platforms. So if you join and never speak, then no one will ever know you were here. No one will ever if you join if you do what Cyrus just did and come and talk. Now you've all seen him. You've all heard him. Suddenly, his personal brand, his authority suddenly goes up. Maybe it goes down for some of you. I'm saying something, but at least we'll know. Any business would rather you felt something than you felt nothing at all. So whatever that means to you, show up. Sonia, I agree with you totally, right? So they say authenticity isn't a brand that has core values, right? This is why many don't connect, because branding is honesty, trustworthy, and credible. I tell you, that's an important point, right? This whole branding thing can be simplified into those simple words. I know. Are you showing up as honest as your real self? The word authenticity has been hijacked, right? By God knows who. I don't know who hijacked it, but people have different meanings for it. To me, it's very simple. It's very, very simple, Christina. Turn up as yourself, be your real self, and be your best self, be your kind self. That's it. People want you to be a nice person. They want you to be knowledgeable, of course, but they want you to be real. Not pretending, not acting. They want you to be the real you, but the real you that can help them. That's where it gets a bit funny, Bill. That's where it gets slightly confusing, right? Because deep down, many of our clients, Christine, most people on here, when we say build relationships, you're right. Many people don't want to build relationships based on your business. They want to build relationships based on you, your kindness, your personal characteristics. Are you? You can't fake being a nice person. So that's what that says in Sonia. A lot of people they try and build a brand on their professional, their knowledge, on their professional credibility and professional status, and they wonder why it doesn't work. People want friends first and foremost. The rest comes. If I don't like you, I don't care how qualified you are. That's what I'm trying to say in many words, right? But that's the truth of it. If I don't like you, say what you like. Be what you like, right? Come across as a person first, and then the rest of it will follow. Go.
Yeah. One more thing that I think we should say is that, you know, again, there is different stages. And when you do post, just ask yourself, why am I posting? What's the role of this particular message I'm putting out there? What do I want it to do?
Mm.
Who is it for, right? And then try to find a similar topic, for example, and engage with it. But the thing is, when people start, they said, okay, I'm going to build my brand, I'm going to build my presence on LinkedIn. They start with the posting and the writing, which is all great, especially if it's consistent and relevant to who they are. But then sometimes they get lost in the sauce.
Mm.
They have this illusion of productivity that makes them think that's my business. Well, it is if the money is coming in, right? But if the money is not coming in, that's not your business. And
Mm.
so you have to be very clear and specific on what your actions are. You know, should I post every day? Sure, if you have the time, right? If you're also doing the other things after you post, you're connecting and engaging with people. Are you, messaging them, starting a conversation that
Mm.
perhaps leads to a call, right? That either leads to a referral, a collaboration, or maybe working together in the future while the person gets to know your style. So, are you doing those things too? Or are you just posting, 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 or liking and engaging and being part of the clique? Uh, you know, Sure, yeah, I have all my friends and like all my posts. Great. Is anybody doing a I mean, what are you here for? Are you here because you're actually trying to monetize this personal brand? Actually tell people what you do and how to work with you. You have to keep that in perspective.
Yeah.
Being a human being, that's what they do for a living, right? But make no mistake, if you're here mostly to acquire clients, to explain what you do for a living and provide a solution, not only you have to say that in a post or in your newsletter, but you also have to network and say that in the conversation. So we said that at the beginning, right? Personal in personal brand,
Mm.
the social in social media, not
Mm.
just to talk about recipes and things like that, right? But it's think of it as a big conference. LinkedIn is a huge business conference where you're walking and you're meeting people. And if you just sit by the table with all the desserts and keep eating, but you didn't meet anybody, you didn't give any business cards, it doesn't do anything to you. You got great free food and champagne. That was a great conference. But it was a great conference. But did you talk to anybody? Did you meet? Did
Nah,
your business card
nah,
land in somebody's hands? Right?
nah. The food was good. The food was too good. I like the analogy for sure, right? Look, I think that there is confusion around authenticity. It's not confusion. I think we just choose. People have different interpretation. I think is what it is, Christine. Right? You know, I mean, does it mean just be your real self, regardless? That's option one. I mean,
In the context of your business, though, in the context
right.
of your business,
So,
right?
so does that mean that you must be in business mode to be authentic?
Yes, I know. It depends on the
Right.
circumstance.
So that's two different. Now we've got three different versions.
Hmm.
There's you just being you. Then there's you being you in a business context. There's you being you without the business context. But still within the professional context, just not
Hmm.
like your business products, right? I think it's in the ideal world, like the authentic you is here to help people. Which I agree that normally takes from your business. How do you help people is a question, right? And paint a picture around that. See, but now this is now this for many of us, this is real life, right? So some people now they will do authenticity without a business focus at all. They're being personal. And I said, I know Bill does like this quite well, right? It doesn't. I don't think it's it's not wrong. I don't. People are not confused. I don't think they. I think if they say they're confused, they're just being dishonest. I don't know. I suppose there's other types of authenticity. There's people who they are trauma. They're trauma people. Their reality is trauma, right? Their reality is pain, which is again, I see nothing wrong with it. Like, if that's their reality, that's your reality, right? Be you. It doesn't mean that people. Don't be surprised when some people run a mile and say, right, that's not me. I'm not interested in that. I mean, if people do that to me, then I just take it as you're not interested in me, really, personally, as a person, right? But again, I don't know. It's a hard one to sort of give a view on, Christina, because I think some of the most successful people on this platform, on LinkedIn, now they lead with kindness. The personal brand is kindness. I think of Paulette, for example. The personal brand is kindness. And it gets her loads of friends who will show up. Because she shows up for them at God knows when. That's in the darkest hours she's there. In the darkest moments she's there. Right. I'm saying that's her thing. I will show up for my friends, but not as much as Paulette does. So what's your level of showing up for others? Because that's not the whole conversation in your brand, right? We're all very good at saying, help me, listen to me, help me, buy from me, care about what I do. How much do you give back to other people? I think that's part of our brand, right? It has to be, where we reciprocate. I think we can expect people to give us more for we're going to give back, right? The problem comes when many people take what they want and then don't give back. They're the ones that turn my back on very quickly. I'm like, no, sorry. This really doesn't align with me at all. Like, we're just not on the same page about what life is, right? So be careful. I think we need to be very. What's the word I'm looking for? We need to be very aware of where we are on that scale of things. Are we just taking, or are we truly being reciprocal? Are we reciprocating? Are we giving back to those who give us time, who give us attention, who give us support? No, this is as good as me asking, are you meeting them to sell your junk, or are you meeting them to find out what they do? That's it, really. And that's the point. Like, many people don't want to hear what you have to say. They come to sell their stuff. Once they're done, they're like, yeah, okay, I'm gone now.
And if you know that's that's one thing I ask. When people book calls with me, although I'm thinking of renaming my calls, but I have a little filtering message. I'm asking them why they're here, or what they want to talk about. What part of their business are they willing to discuss, right? So, and probably that turns off a lot of people, turns them away, because they really don't want to work on their business. They just wanted to either pick your brain, or them selling your product, or wanting to know something that was not really so related, right? So if and sometimes people say, hey, no, actually not looking to work on my brand, my business, etc. But I just want to let you know, because we are doing similar things and we can collaborate, right? So I like when people say that, because I'll take that call, of course, right? And then I'm going there, without my salesman cap, without expectation, without thinking, okay, this person is ready. I probably should do my best to close this call. because it's part of the business. It's human thing. So having that, knowing that, it's super important. I
Mm.
also wanted to address these before we leave, because we almost we are at that
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Is authenticity isn't considered trustworthy and honest? I'm confused with that one. So yes, authenticity is considered honest and trustworthy, but we're talking here in the context of your business, right?
Mm.
You can be an accountant that also likes to, climb rocks and mountains, and that's part. You show a couple of photos like that. People may see that they have something in common with you doing the same thing, so they find the particular daring, and it's part. Some you're showing some parts of you, right? But when it comes to trustworthy and honest, that part they'll get it from a live, right?
Mm.
Or listening to you talking about your subject matter and understanding, okay, this person knows what they're talking about or not. And also that once they make working event, or they came across one of your posts, right? Now they're going on your landing page. Now they're looking for social proof. Now they're looking for serious stuff, informative content to see who you are, maybe how long have you posted, how many people are connected with you,
Mm.
or maybe they're looking, did this person got any customer reviews, right? So it's both. It's both. When you're starting out with your personal brand, building it all together, absolutely tell people what you're doing, what you're building, be yourself, and say happy Saturday and show a picture of you, by the pool, whatever it is, right? You can do all that. Uh, but also you have to build the presence in a way that once they land on your page, it's kind of like they're landing on a website. They need to have a user experience. Are
Mm.
people saying that they're good? Is there a way that I can talk to them, book a call? uh, are they posting often, or are they here once a month and then they disappear? Those
Mm.
are all things that are important.
Yeah. Are they doing events?
Hmm.
Are they going to events? It's all of that. It is about showing up. Constantly. It is about being there. As Christina said at the beginning, right? Look. Sometimes, as say Mr. Jameson is saying, sometimes you get tired of chasing people and fishing. Yeah, it's not. Don't be doing that. You know, some people. Some people will not say yes or no. As Sarah said, if someone says no, many businesses we're happy. We're like, yeah, I can leave you alone now. You're not going to buy from me. That's fine. You know, but definitely, some people will they'll drag it out. They'll waste your time. They have no intention of ever paying, but rather than just come out with it, they will make it. It's those give me a headache, Christina. They give me a proper headache. Again, I can understand. When the time comes, you're gonna have to make a choice. Who do you go with? Me, someone else, someone else. That's fine, right? But let's just be be honest. Be authentic. Be authentic. And sometimes being authentic, I think here's a point. Sorry, being authentic does mean sometimes the end of our relationship. If we're not on the same path, it would you just gotta say, yeah, bye. Find someone else who you're more aligned with. That's just life. That's how it goes, right? And we can't keep connections forever. Let's not pretend we can be friends with everyone. So we can't. Some people we just have to let part of this the whole building your authority is knowing who you want to be connected with and know who you don't want to be connected with, and just being able to say bye. Sorry, so it's not working for me. It's never going to work. I'm not working for you. I'm never going to put the effort in. So goodbye. End of. Emma, great to see you. Great to see you, of course. What does Sonia say? All right. Authenticity is realistic, but not branding. Is the way you are, the way you show up. I agree with you on that one. I agree with you for sure, right? Yeah. What does Jameson say? I'm creative, but could not say Can I say ice to a polar bear? Let's hope not. Polar bears don't eat ice. No, hopefully they got enough ice where they are, right? This being authentic, your authentic self. That's one of my shows, right? But this being real. Maybe we need to unpick this one day, Christina. I think we need to truly work out what does it really mean to be authentic. Yeah, especially in business. Yeah, I think we should talk about it one day somewhere. Cyrus, thank you for joining us. We lost you, right? Yeah, Jameson he's a comedian. I give him that for sure, right? We're almost gone, Christina. Almost. Sonia says authenticity, authenticity can absolutely be a value. It can. But it can also be a brand trait when it is a thing that people consistently associate with you, for sure. It is the thing that people, it is who you are. So, I don't think we can distinguish it from our personal brand. And
Absolutely.
you want your business to be seen as someone I know, like, and trust. Those words mean something, right? Their brand's not just a color, logo, and all that stuff, right? It's a feeling.
Sometimes people confuse personal branding and brand.
Mm, mm.
We're talking about personal branding, but people confuse personal branding with branding, which is different.
It is. No, I agree with you. So there's more that she said. No, that's no, that William Rochelle says. That is William. So he's saying, so your brand can be, you know, all the things that people associate with you. It's not just your looks, for sure. A brand is a feeling and the expectation people attach to your name. So if people know you for being raw, honest, unfiltered, and real, then authenticity is not just something you believe; it's part of your brand. That's your brand experience. I can understand that. It's look. Let's say we will unpick this brand, this authenticity thing when it comes to our brand. No, so I will always support my friends, but also no problem at all, no problem at all, right? You know, so we're going out the door. So autism and says don't mix like water and oil in this place. I don't know. I don't know. Go on. What do you think?
I know many successful, business owner and salesperson that are autistic. So, you know, it really depends. It could be your personal brand, and for many years, just being authentically who you are, sharing what you go through,
Mm,
and how these things enhance or they make you focus on a specific topic rather than another, or a specific in skill rather than another. So yeah, that I don't, definitely I wouldn't say that. It's really very personal,
mm,
and it's very personal. It's very personal.
yeah.
So
You know,
I couldn't say it in any other way. It's super personal. And again, who
it,
you are,
mm,
right? We have many friends on these platforms that are autistic, affected by attention deficit disorders, also other disabilities. And when what they did, they owned it,
mm,
they embraced it, they made it part of their message and who they are and their brand. And that doesn't mean that that's what they do, talking about the particular subject. There might be completely different, their business commitment might be completely different, but they incorporated that as part of who they are, their authenticity, and some of the people that they support.
mm. Yeah, no, for sure. Look, so there's many more amazing comments. Dr. Roxana, I see you. So I want to leave with two. I think that and this is important. Sonia, clearly you and Bill have a conversation going. He's inviting you to his show, You Be You Live. He says, "No, you'd be a great guest." I agree. You should, Connect, my friend, connect. Everything starts with connecting and having a conversation, right? I can see how you can elevate each other for sure. So you're both serious people, so do talk. And I say I probably want to leave it on this. Again, I think this is Mr. Glover saying, I do know you should follow and connect with people you're interested in that are interested in what you do. Yeah, it sounds easy. It's of course, if someone's interested in what you do, I say connect with them, befriend them, talk to them first of all. First and foremost. If you can arrange a Zoom chat, even better, right? But engage with them. So some people we just stalk you from a distance, which is fine. It just takes longer. That's all. Yeah. Is there a drawback, Christina, that I'm missing?
About
I think the
coming to that,
drawback is knowing whether someone's really interested in what you do.
you have to filter. I'm more of these days of a DM person than a live chat person. What it means is I would probably have 3 to 5 DM conversations with you first before we go and actually book a call. I mean, I might share my Calendly as part of my signature when I'm sending a message thanking people for following my newsletter, etc., etc. But if I'm engaging because you just connected with me and you're telling me what you're doing, and I'm telling you what I do, and we are connecting about a specific topic because we met in the comments somewhere, right? We're having that type of conversation. That cannot be just, hi, I do this, you do that, let's get on a call. I just don't do it that way. It has to be a back and forth, and maybe over a couple of 2 to 3 days, consecutive days, for me to say, okay, you know what? I think we can collaborate. I think we should do something together, or let's support each other, or I think I can help you actually have a solution to your problem. This is my kind. So that kind of directness comes after a few engagement, because we probably get a lot of those too, but I get a lot of, hey, I want to get on a call of you to pick your brain. Uh, and that's paid territory if you want to pick my brain. So, and I have no shame in saying that. I'll advise, I'll recommend, I'll go on lives and share. I'll share tips and tricks on my newsletters, right? But if you're gonna go on a one-on-one because you have some very specific questions, that's different.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. Work, we get paid to work, Christina. If someone's making us work, they should expect to pay, right? That's my coffee chat. That's a consultation. Call it that, right? So, Prof, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Have I missed anyone? Look, I don't know. America says big corporate social media policies suck. I thank you.
Yeah, the rebels are here.
They have to have big policies, right? Otherwise, the chance of them being blown up by people's you know quirks. Right. I guess I'm not a quick pro quo type of guy. I'm generally just not selling anything, just having a conversation with people. So I just didn't know how to take that because I didn't want anything from the person. Hmm. Hmm. It's a hard one. It's a hard one. If you're not here,
Be clear. I'm here for this, right? And see where it goes. That's the thing. So you have to be transparent. I mean, if you're using this platform to generate business, to offer your solutions, and that's what you're here for, you should be crystal clear.
hmm,
Doesn't mean that you cannot meet people that you do things with. Like, maybe you have a book club within LinkedIn, right? You actually read books together. There are those. Or you go on lives about philosophical topics just to network. Those things exist on LinkedIn. But if you're here because you want to make, you have a service, a business, and you want to make it sustainable, you have to build a network that can elevate that. If you look at your net, if you're here for that, you look at your network and it's just all lovely people that just want to treat it like if it's Facebook, right? Then it's different. Then you're never gonna go anywhere. You're not gonna monetize your presence on this platform. Doesn't mean again that you cannot build relationship. We have many rooms that are about karaoke and music and relaxing, right? You can build those type of relationships there, but a lot, there is 1 to 2% of content creators on the platforms, and what they're doing
Yeah.
business, and they're talking about their business. And then all the rest are consumers. So it is our jobs as content creators on the platforms that are conducting business to filter those people that are consuming our content. I mean, if your content is very specific and people are engaging and consuming it, you would think that it might be crossing their mind, at least if they're engaging with mine, that maybe they want to start their own business, right? Or maybe they want to make some money out of their experience and package it. So you would think that that's a reason. And that's, I'm connecting with them and I'm telling them what I do. I'm approaching them. Perhaps they're doing something very similar than what I do. So maybe we can join forces, right? But if your network, if this is what I'm doing, and then I'm networking with all people that are talking about completely different topics, of course I might irritate them also when I'm trying to tell them about my service, because why that's not the reason why they connected with
Mm.
me. So the role the role of your presence, the role of your post, the role of your contents, the role of your lives, the role of the people that are in your network. Are there door openers? Are there
Mm.
cheerleaders? Because cheerleaders are good too. And or are they potential prospects,
Yeah.
right? So you have to be very specific so that you don't end up having conversations about quid pro quo, and you know exactly where you are, where you stand, and what you're doing. Because this conversation today, it's about marketing, authority, and personal branding. So we assume some people listening, they might be into that, or they might be working on their own, or they might be colleagues dealing with the same topics.
Yeah, look, I think I can see a gap somewhere, and I don't know. It doesn't look like a good gap. Let's work on Christy first of all, right? I think there's something about that. We can end on this, Christina. People who don't have any, they don't want to sell anything. They have nothing to sell, right? They just want to just chat. I think I can see where the problem lies. I think, right? The problem lies, as you say, most of us here, many of us here, not most, many of us here are business people. We want to sell and market our services. That's what we're here for, right? It's a marketing platform, right? Like it or not. Relationship based, yes, but still it's still marketing, right? And then there's people who don't have anything to sell, but have no intent on supporting anyone else. I don't sell anything, so I'm not going to buy anything mentality. How does that work? How would that isn't that some sort of dilemma?
It's a choice that then you have to make as a business owner. Do I want the person in my network?
Mm.
Do I
If I
want it because they are a supporter? They share some of the content that I post, which, by the way, I'm talking about your content being very specific about what you're doing here, right? So if you are somebody that deals in mindfulness, and your content is all about mindfulness, you are a spiritual coach and you have spiritual services like some of my clients are, and you're consistently posting about this topic, and about what you do and the results that you have achieved for some of your clients, and then people connect with you, but they want to get on calls with you to get to know you as a coffee chat, just because they got curious, but in reality, they have no intention to do anything with you. And they're kind of like just curious and buying time, because unfortunately, I've met people like that they just want to know because they want to talk to somebody. And, you know, that's what they do. And then they were looking more, they were probably looking to socialize, um, and that's okay. You know, I have people that I met here socializing, like-minded people. But then one thing that happened is that those people became door openers, right? Or they became supporters, like they believe in your what you're doing, and they'll share it with their network. So that can absolutely exist, and I definitely have people that I support in that way. But the reality is, if you're here, if you're listening because you mean business, you're really trying to put your service business together, build your personal brand, build some credibility, authority, like we said, and making those connections that can open doors of becoming prospects. You have to be aware of those that it's kind of like mini sabotages, wasting your time, wanting to talk to you, not just for those 20. You can do get to know 20 minutes calls all day long. It's up to you to put them in your schedule. I'll only take 6 to 10 this week, right? uh, but then if all you get is that, and there are people that want to talk to you for longer than 20 minutes about the weather, or where they live and where you live and where you're originally from, all those kind of things, that's a time waster. And you it's not being mean, it's not being genuine or authentic, is to respect what you're building or what you're doing enough to be able to say, well, thank you, it was nice, right? We met. uh, I'll keep looking and following what you're doing, etc., etc. End of conversation. This was that our time limit call. uh, you have to. It happened. I met. I work with a lot of people that they don't know how to say no, and their calendars, thank God, are getting booked. But a lot of it is people just wanting to talk and thinking that it's some kind of a happy hour, or instead of going out to a coffee shop or a bar, they can go on Zoom. And that's very important for somebody that is building their own business, to be able to spot that and stop it.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing because I think you have a point there.
It happens. That's the
It
thing.
happens. It
It's
happens
real.
very, very often. Ryan,
Yes.
I welcome you because you're never too late, and I love to welcome everyone come to our events. Right now, Bill, I think that look you. I think it would, how can I explain this? Right. See, I used to be an in-person, in real life networker every day. I used to be a member of BNI. If you don't know who BNI is networking, breakfast networking at its best. They're very structured, and everyone gets judged for everything. You get judged on attendance, you get judged on referrals, you get judged on reviews, you get judged on everything, right? I say I can. I remember seeing some people would just be like, almost, I'm not here. I don't want to buy anything you like. In which case, why are we even talking? Because I think it's more than. It's not just I'm not talking to you to do a transaction. Once you say those words, it's like saying my words are not mine. My words, are you with me? Like you said,
Yeah,
Christine,
my opinion's on my own.
right?
Yes.
Like that just says nothing I say is good. Is gonna. I'm not here to help anyone. I'm not really interested in what anyone has to say. And on the marketing platform, in networking, it's a marketing platform networking, by the way. You don't want to give that impression that you don't care about anyone. What you want to do is give the impression. No, not give the impression. You want to be interested in what people do, because if you find something that can help you, then you would invest in it. That's how the world works, right? If you come with I'm never going to buy, I'm never going to spend a penny for anyone, I'm never going to be interested in what anyone does, you've killed the relationship before it even starts. I'm not, people will run a mile. I'll run a mile because, like you say, Christina, you know, if you want happy hour chat, go somewhere else, right? Because it's not, that doesn't work for
That's
business.
me being authentic.
Yeah, no, so that's why I laugh. That is as honest as we can be, right? I think it's not whether you're gonna buy or not. It's like you're not interested in what we do. That is not.
Actually, I had this is kind of funny. I had a newish LinkedIn member that decided to call themselves coach, and they're going on a lot of lives. They're doing a lot of free, no pitch coffee chats, right? And they're preaching about those people that don't do those coffee chats. Like I ended up refusing one, right? Um, and the thing is like live and learn. Right now it you know you having 30 people wanting to have coffee chats for you and going to all these lives, it seems like if it's working for you, right? It's a stage. I had that
Mm,
where I was talking to a lot of people. I had no expectations. I was just figuring out this platform, right? But the moment you actually have some things that, you have a business to run, where you have hours that you have to dedicate to your clients, hours that you have to dedicate to curriculums you're putting together, and the hours that you have to set aside for having calls with actual prospects, and hours for having calls for those that they are supporting you, they're opening doors for you, maybe they want to work with you, right? So you have to discern and make those hours available.
mm.
You'll see, you'll end up saying, I cannot take all these calls,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
especially when people don't want to hang up. So that's
yeah,
it.
yeah. No, for sure. No, look again. If people are not interested in what I do, I'm gone. I'm out of there. This is how I do what I do, right? Someone interested, I'll give you time. So maybe that interest might convert in months, maybe a year, for all I know, right? Now, but if someone comes out and says blatantly, I'm not interested in what you do, really. I'm just here just for a chat. No, there's other people who can chat to. It's fine. Call
I
Christina.
mean, and the
She
thing is
will
like
meet with
you
you.
don't want to be rude, right? I like what you said, and I wanted to get to know you, and I want to chat. Okay, that's different. You
Mm,
listen to a live, you liked what I said, so maybe there is something that you're not saying that I'm gonna have to get out of you. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
okay. So I'll take that call. That's flattery will get you anywhere, right?
I'll take the
Uh,
call too.
yes, exactly. But if you'll be able to know. You'll be able to know. What I'm saying is manage your time.
Mm,
We call this, and then we're gonna close because now it's going 2 hours.
yes.
We call this alchemy for a reason, right? Uh, Personal branding, authenticity, authority, all that kind of stuff. But big part of it is throughout all these, you're gonna find out this is what I actually do. This is how
Mm,
I actually earn. These are the actions that help me earn,
yeah.
and you gotta prioritize those
Mm,
while keeping the content flowing
mm,
and meeting new people. Because the other thing that Daniel and I were discussing at the beginning of these conversations, clicks are not gonna get you anywhere.
yeah.
Being in the same circles of people with everybody goes, ooh, yeah, you're so great, you're so wonderful, love, 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 right? Then it's the same people saying that you're not generating any new leads and any new business.
Mm, mm. No, no, talk to more people. The more people you talk to, the better chance you have of helping people. Look at it that way. That's the way I look at it, right? Please share the link for your event tomorrow.
Oh, thank you, and I
Share the
appreciate
link.
that.
So I'm always, always here to help, right? So I'll do your comments. It's your choice if you're just only networking or building connections that will lead to collaborations or leads. It really is, right? Now, for many of us running businesses, and we're looking for to be collective of people. Indeed, really not, really not. We're intentional about who we connect with. We're intentional about conversations we have. Your time is money, my friends. Let's be honest. Our time is money. If you say, and look, part of making sure we have a tight network of people is to know who are not really with you, who are not interested in what you do. Sarah's made a point. Know your prospects. Now tag
It's
along,
like,
meet them, tag along with them, right?
I'll tell you a personal storytelling,
Go for it. Go
authenticity
for it.
piece, and then
Yeah.
I'll close.
This is just
Because
your comment to this.
is this comment that got it out of me. We're not collectors of people, right? So in my previous life, I was an antique book dealer. So naturally, it's because why did I chose the career? Because I love books, right? Uh, but then as I became better and better at running my business, I wasn't taking in just any books.
Hmm.
So, and I only kept, collected, and sold the right ones. So
Yeah.
that's the thing, right? And so at first, you love people. That's why you're doing this. That's why you're doing live events, podcasting, all
Hmm.
that. But then as your business grows, you focus your
Hmm.
attention towards those that you can support, groom, and help, right? Those that you have beneficial collaborations, and even those people that just uplift you when you talk to them. Because you could have a network of people, you're doing the same things and
Hmm.
you're supporting each other's in other ways. So there is also that. So yes, collectors of people doesn't do anything. It just actually, I'll stand correct here. Unfortunately, there are people that will pick you as opposed to somebody else because it seems like if you've been in business longer because you have more followers. That
Hmm.
happens.
Hmm.
And then they'll find out the hard way. So always do your homework. Don't just look at the numbers. Uh, Look at what they're putting out, the content that they're producing, and listen to one of their lives, their recordings, etc., etc.
Meet them. Find out if,
We
if there's any sort of alignment or interest in what they really do and what you do. That's where it comes down to really. The sooner you can do that bit, yeah, the sooner you know. But don't go collecting people. It does you no good. I promise you. Christina, thank you very much. Now, where's the link to your event? You haven't put it. No, I can't see it yet. So,
I will drop it right after I
okay,
close.
cool. All right, now, thank you so much, my friends. Now we're back here again in 2 weeks' time. They do connect with each other, connect with us. Sonia, thank you so much. Kenny, everyone that's joined us, and I truly appreciate all of you. What's on tonight? Jackie's normally on the Mondays. Jackie's just Jacks, right? So do connect with her. Christina's on tomorrow with the
America.
masterclass of America, right?
Hmm.
So do check that out. The link will be in the comments. Let's learn to support each other, especially when what we're looking at can help us, right? Thank you so much, everyone. So thank you, Mike, for the songs you always create for me as well. There's new ones coming, my friends. Do enjoy your night, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks. Take care, everyone. Take care.
All right, thank you, Annie.
Bye.
And he sees you. He sees you. He sees you. Oh, from the children with no voice in borrowed rooms to the magazines that carry their truth. 25 years of the same steady hand, finding the ones who fell through the cracks of the plan. From Mitcham to Croydon, from London to the world, every